I'm going to start off this podcast episode with a quote from Eminem. Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? This episode is dedicated to the second annual Ride for Loma, occurring on July 26th. If you are in the Edmonton region, I want you to stay tuned to the release of tickets. It's going to be 3 rides, $100 a bike, 150 riders, massive outdoor party led by Boudang music. This is something that you'll want to be a part of, and it's not to the extent that money is the only gift that you have to offer. Because in this episode we talk about essence and what essence looks like, what essence feels like. What does it feel like to be fulfilled in your life? To carry on something meaningful, more meaningful than money or social media or likes or the amount of listens? What does it look like to show the people in your life that they matter? And so it might not be cancer that you just want to scream at. It might be MS. It might be that there is some rare disease that rocked your world. And at the end of the day, it's about reflecting on the fact that life is simply too short to sit down and just watch. Just watch people come in and out of your life. Take things for granted. Not take time to stop and smell the roses. It's important to take moments, not for granted, but as gifts. To understand that everybody that comes into our life and how they come into our life, everybody that leaves our life and how they leave our life, all of that is happening for a specific reason. And while we may never understand these reasons, or think that they are unfair, or want to punch the wall, or scream, or cry, they are reasons nonetheless. And it is a matter of being open to what life is, because it's not all happy. But then you find this moment where a dragonfly flies in front of you, and you understand that we ride as one. Welcome to the Lifestyle Chase. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. Proudly hosted by me, Chris Little. Without further ado, let's get started. Today I'm interviewing Tevia Celli. She's a vegan, she's a mom, she's married, she's LGBT, music lover, director of education for Cyclebar Franchising. She kicks ass and takes names and leaves nothing held back. She feels emotions like she means it, but honestly, she tells her story best. So here we go. Welcome to episode 57 of the Lifestyle Chase. Today I am joined by the one and only Tevia Celli. How are you doing, and did I say your name right?
You said my name correctly, and I'm doing great.
That's awesome.
How are you?
I'm great. It was a hectic last half hour because for the first time I had technical difficulties getting all this stuff recorded. So take me through a routine. Like what is your day like? How do you start? What's stuff that you do?
What do? I wake up every morning about 5 in the morning, do a little workout. I love to start my workout first thing in the morning because I have 2 kids. I'm either getting them ready for school or for camp. They're in camp today. So I like to get my workout in. And if I don't get up and do it at the crack of dawn, chances are I'll get them to camp or school, and then calls and emails start coming, and then I forget the me time. So I get up, I do my workout, I get kids up and ready. And then we currently have 182 studios open, and we are opening another 30 to 40 in the next 3 months. So I am just talking to people, walking them through all the steps of finding talent. I have a whole team of master instructors under me that I'm in constant communication with. We do auditions, we do trainings and boot camps. So just basically that's what I do all day long, is talk to people, make sure that they have the right talent in order, so that they can be successful.
Absolutely. So if we took a time machine and went back like 20 years, what would life look like 20 years ago?
Wow. So 20 years ago, I was in the process of opening one of the first indoor cycling studios, boutique indoor cycling studios. So there were spinning was in big box gyms, just starting to make its debut in the 1998, 1999. And so we decided, I had a couple partners, and we decided to take it up a notch and make it a studio fitness boutique, kind of like there were yoga studios. So we thought, let's take it and make a spin studio boutique. So we created a very high end, attracting that Hollywood, because we was in West Hollywood, so we were attracting that clientele. So basically, trying something that no one else had tried before, as far as a boutique style fitness back then. That's what I was doing 20 years ago.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
with everything that's new, like this was a new market, a new topic, probably like just a new concept.
Yes.
What were the three things that people said against your idea that really stuck with you?
That were against it.
Yeah.
My father said, let me get this straight. You're going to put money into building a studio with bikes that go nowhere. Yes. I would say a lot of people thought it was not they didn't think it was something that could withstand the time, and that it was it was just one of the gimmicks in fitness that will go away very quickly. So we kind of thought we had something that was different than most people had. So we basically decided that we would go forward. So I think everybody I ever came in contact with told me not to do this in that time. But at that time, I was fed up with where I was in my life. I was a private investigator for several years at a company. And it's just, I saw the dark side of people, and I fell in love with indoor cycling. And I knew that if it could make me feel as good as it made me feel, and it gave me some sort of active meditation that was missing in my life, that I could do that, it could change so many people and so many aspects of their lives, not just the health and physical part of it, but the mindset of it as well, because it is an active meditation besides being a workout.
And that makes
So,
sense. I can totally relate to that. So I like to ask people about their high school experience. So in high school, what was that like for you? What kind of a clique did you fall under? Were you academic? Were you athletic?
yeah, I was athletic, very athletic. I was also student body president. So I was more into, sports. I led, the school, being, I was class president, and then I was student body president. So I was very in a kind of, cool clique, so to speak. I wasn't one of the crazier people in school where I got into trouble. I was pretty much a leader, so to speak, in school.
So say going back when you were like 16 years old, did you know that you wanted to be a private investigator?
No, no, I had no idea what I wanted to be. I really didn't. I went through high school not really knowing. Nothing stuck. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be all these things that people tell you you should be. Doctor, lawyers, accountants, you have your parents throwing things at you. I didn't know what would work for me. I was really good at math. Always, great when it came to math. So, my idea when I went into college was that I would do business. So I did business and communications. So when I graduated college, I went to work for an aerospace company where I was a financial analyst. I priced out bills of material for the space station. And I did that for 1 year and I hated it. It was the worst job in the whole world. I was in a cubicle. I was unhappy. At 20, I think it was 23, I had an ulcer. The stress level, I was working 80, 90 hours a week. So I was adopted and I was searching for my biological parents. And in that process, I met a private investigator who thought I did such great work leading up to the point of reaching out to him that he said, come work for me. I think you're really great at this. And so I told my dad I was going to quit my job and I was going to go apprentice under a PI. And he told me I couldn't and that I needed to at least stay 1 year because it would look bad on my resume. So I waited until my 1 year anniversary and I walked in and I quit and I left and, apprenticed under a private investigator until I was able to get my license from the state of California.
That's crazy. If you could give me three benefits to how you grew up, basically being adopted, like what would three things that stand out to you be?
So, I mean, I great parent. My parents were fantastic. My adopted parents, amazing. So I'm so grateful. I grew up with them as mentors and parents. They never, they just gave me the option to be who I wanted to be. And when I did want to change careers, it was like be smart about it, stay a year. But whatever I chose to do, they gave me 100% support. So I love that. But I think being adopted, when you find out you're adopted as a child, you have questions and you wonder, why someone didn't want you, right? So that was something I think I struggled with for a good amount of my teens, even probably into my 20s. And, your abandonment, like someone's going to leave, I'm not going to be good enough. And that was something that took into my 30s to figure out, right? And then just that, I think it's more so like, do I have siblings? Do I look like someone? Because when you're adopted, my sister, I have an adopted sister and we look nothing alike. So to be able to identify and look at someone and see that, oh, I can see a little bit of myself in you kind of thing. So I think those were probably the three main things growing up with.
I feel like that would play in really well to fostering a community within like a large spin culture, indoor cycling, I should say, in that we all come from different places, but we all have something to bring to the table, and
Yes.
sharing that, like, your background would definitely contribute to a greater understanding and a greater empathy for someone who's like new to a class that they may not be comfortable with, or are there to find a sense of belonging, which is one of the most wonderful things about like indoor cycling communities.
Yeah, I think that for my goal has always been in the indoor cycling world was to create that community so that I might not, if I would have met you somewhere, I might not have clicked with you, but I can ride next to you for 5 years and you've gone through death with me, you've gone through breakups and everything, riding next to me, that we are now connected. And the bond that you have in that room when you're with these people over and over, you see them week after week and month after month and sometimes year after year, that it's a home where you feel safe. So I think that was always the goal with what we attempted to create with our studio that we built, which was then, my original studio, Body and Soul Workout, was the basis for Soul Cycle. My ex-business partner has my job with Soul Cycle. The owner, one of the founders of Soul Cycle was our student who moved to New York, and that's then was like New York has nothing like this. I want to do this. Um, and so our vision played very deeply in, it roots deeply in Soul Cycle and Flywheel as well, in that creating community. And obviously when I came to Cyclebar, that was my goal, is how do I not only create the community for the clientele, but also the instructors. Because if I get the instructors feeling like they belong in the community, then they're going to walk into their studios and try to foster that same community feeling within their studios. So definitely my vision from day one.
As far as, because a lot of people find that the fitness industry becomes saturated, or there's too much, there's not enough people to go around.
Sure.
What is your stance on having so many different growing brands of indoor cycle, and like how does that reflect in the direction that Cyclebar is going?
So I think with Cyclebar, the one unique thing that there's a couple of things we do, but one of the things is because we're franchised and we go in these different communities, we go into communities where our biggest competitors would never enter, right? Fargo, North Dakota, no one, Soul Cycle's never going to Fargo. Des Moines, Iowa, like there's so many places that they would never go. So with that franchise, you still maintain that mom and pop kind of feeling, because the franchisee, it's their money, they own it, it's their energy in it. And so when they buy into the bigger picture of Cyclebar and then they bring that to the community, people feel like it's that mom and pop, yet it's a big brand. So you can go to any city and find it. So I think that separates us from a lot of people, as opposed to, you don't get that mom and pop throughout these bigger chains when you go to those studios. Second thing is, I think that we offer a variety, and that was always my goal with Cyclebar, is to give the opportunity that if you want numbers, you can come to this class and get your numbers. If you want numbers amped on 2.0, you can go take a performance ride. But if you just want to walk in and close your eyes and not hear numbers or look at numbers, you can have that connect ride and you can have it. So we're not looking for one type of person. We're looking for 3 types of people. And so we're really very inclusive in that sense. We're not looking for that, type of client that's the perfect size and the perfect body and this specific look. It's not our brand. I just got an email from somebody that I was reading this morning about somebody who auditioned for them and how they were concerned because, they were not exactly the fit look. And I sent them 5 or 6 screen grabs of cycle stars that sell out classes around the country that are, a size 10 to 14. And that's our brand, is that we're not exactly looking for the perfect, body. I don't even know if there is a perfect body. I think it's just a stereotype. So I think that separates us from everyone else, those kind of things. So we offer that inclusivity. We're not exclusive. We're not going for the 1%. We go for the, 99%.
I agree, and I'm on the same page with all of that. That's why I'm seen at Cyclebar Windermere very often. It's just like that whole being able to enlist people based on their capabilities. Like if you can wake up in the morning, you can go to Cyclebar. It's not a matter of you have to like hit a certain benchmark first or anything like that. Like people's lives can be changed for better through the simplest measures.
Yes,
So
I agree.
with the topic of community, something that I have found that I've noticed, I would consider myself a very supportive LGBT ally, someone who likes to see that community feel like they can live a life just like anybody else. And with society, it's something with a lot of pushback. I know that you would be able to speak to this. What
Yep.
is the toughest obstacle that you faced with your journey on that topic?
It's it's ongoing, right? So you think that in 2019 you don't that there's not going to be hurdles, but are still hurdles every day. I mean, for example, I flew home with my family the other night, and we landed in LAX, and we had a car pick us up because obviously I wanted to schedule a car. I had 2 kids with me, and the driver saw my family. There's 2 moms and 2 kids, and he would not shake my hand. He shook my kid's hand and he shook my wife's hand, but he would not shake my hand. And had it not been 2:00 in the morning, I would have just said, "I'm not using your service. I'm going to call an Uber." And but I needed a car seat, and I had ordered a car seat. So I really was, and I was spent. Our plane was delayed by 4 hours. And it was late in the night for us. So we went with it. But even now, and especially living in Los Angeles, you don't think that those things still happen, but they do. And so growing up, I would say for me, I didn't have the struggles that I think a lot of people had growing up because I had great parents. I'm a very accepting mother who just wanted me to be loved and love. And that's it. And I was always, as long as you are loved and you're loving people, I don't care who it is or what it is. So I grew up not thinking anything was wrong with me and that it was all okay. But I will say that with the Cyclebar journey and traveling all over Middle America, that you do see the difference of acceptance from state to state and demographic to demographic. So we even have that with in challenges with, June was Gay Pride Month and some demographics not wanting to partake in that.
Do you find that's like in your home base, or is it just when you're traveling around? Or?
More so traveling. Everyone in Southern California pretty much okay. It was really a rarity. When we came home the other night from the airport, we were all shocked. Oh, my wife and I were shocked. But I did write a nice email to the owner of the company about it. But I think that overall, I do understand that, look, there are going to be people for religious reasons who believe one thing and to stay in alignment and not be judging of them, let them be. Because if I'm judging them, then I'm in their space. I don't want them to take my space up, so I'm not going to judge them. But it is definitely, ever present. I would say it's not. I think that your country far better, right? I think that there's a different experience of where people are in our country right now. We're a very divided country at the moment, several divisions. So I think that it's going to take some time to come together and get better. So that's going to always be present, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I'm wired for empathy, and like I might not be in that situation, but it doesn't mean that I'm not enabled to like have some sense of allegiance or just understanding what it must feel like. Like I can make it as though, say, because I'm a Canadian, I like hockey.
Yeah.
And what if liking hockey was just completely just outrageous and I couldn't do anything based off of me liking hockey? And then that's right. What it takes to understand where another person's coming from. And it might be like some really redneck approach.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's just, again, we're, especially where we live in the United States, it's so divided that the level of hate with just LGBT and then you've got religious and you've got, there's so many different people being hated on Um, so it makes it very difficult to exist right now. I think it's very hard because we are, we have a healing that has to take place in the United States of America. And I don't know how that happens, but hopefully it will happen at some point. But, for right now, we have, whether you're gay or you're white or, Black, Hispanic, Jewish, Muslim, there's just so much division. And I think it's not just my experience and my, being gay and being having these experiences. It's everybody at this point is being discriminated. So I have a lot of empathy for all people. And I think at one point maybe we'll all get there. I hope so anyway.
I hope so too. But I think it's a good segue to the role that a cycle bar location can play in a community.
Yes.
Because everybody that gets on that bike has a way to impact other people in their life. And it's that solidarity that you experience in that room when the lights are off and the music hits that beat and you find that state of flow.
Yeah.
You get like this sense of clarity. You might start your day off with like a 6 a.m. class, and all of a sudden things are more clear. You go out into your life and you can actually impact change. Like people in the spin room they could potentially be political leaders. They could be
Yes.
police, doctors, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Then looking back, you're the leader that leads leaders to lead. Isn't that a cool feeling?
It's a great feeling. I feel incredibly blessed that I get to do what I do for a living, and that, we have over 2,000 instructors right now, and that I get to go make an impact on how they go out and roll out the vision. And the vision has always been that we want connection. I mean, we're selling, it is a workout. So we're selling a workout to a point. I always say the workout's a given, but we're selling an experience. And our experience is to give people the opportunity to feel good. And we feel good when we're empowered and when we're inspired and motivated. So if we all get up on that bike as instructors and we can make that happen in that 45 minutes, the ripple, like you said, people, you're a better parent, you're a better partner, you're a better teacher, you're better at your job if you can get that workout in. And I do think that what we do, and, we have designed classes and the ride format in a way that does heighten the experience. I think we've done a really good job training these instructors to be transparent and real and authentic, because we can't get up there and be fake. We have to be authentic in who we are in order to really make that connection. Can't have that connection if we're acting up there. So we have to be real people up there and be vulnerable and share our experiences. And when we do that, we connect. And it's a safe place so that it doesn't matter if you're going through the worst time of your life or the best time you're in your life. You can come in, clip in, and be in the same room with somebody who might have lost everything and you just gained everything. So I feel blessed that I get to do that and be in charge of all that and lead. I call them the youngsters. They're my kids. I love that I get to inspire them to be inspiring.
And because I've ridden on an indoor stationary bike for several classes and seen a lot of people's toughest moments. I've seen people cry on the bike. I've seen people get through some really, really tough, life-changing moments on the bike, in which everybody's presence in there counted, everybody's how they rode, what intention that they had an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a moment for yourself that stands out when either you had to just like unload some heavy baggage or someone else was leading the class and you were witness to that moment?
Yeah, I'm in several over my career, right? I've been doing this forever. So I would say for me, my mom passed away almost 5 years ago of cancer. And so during that time and being on the bike, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that outlet as an instructor, um, to shift my perspective every day. So as much as I was up there on the bike leading people, I was also working through my own stuff. And I always do tell this to people, all the instructors, is that as we go through this and we're on this bike, we're always talking to ourselves, right? We're working out our own stuff. So I think that for me, being able to talk and share where I was, and the music played a big role in it, because there's be some days where I'd just be mad and I'd play, maybe throw in some, Foo Fighters or Nirvana in there, and then or Rage Against the Machine, and then follow it up with something soft, so that I could feel those emotions. And I can't, hundreds of times, thousands of times, I've gotten on that bike as the instructor and bawled my eyes out at the same time that other people were. And I think that those are your best moments on the bike, because they're your truest moments as an instructor, is when I can be up there and be that vulnerable in front of 50 people, because I believe that everybody who comes into that room is meant to be there. So they're meant to hear whatever is being spoken. They're meant to experience that energy of that room. Otherwise, their car wouldn't have started, their alarm wouldn't have gone off. Something would have happened to prevent them from being in that experience. So I think that, those times of being the most authentic, going through my mother's death, going through, there's so much stuff, that those things help change people as well as yourself. Dozens of times I've cried in classes. I mean, more than dozens, hundreds. I have some of the best master instructor team around, and we're all getting together this weekend, and I can't wait. We have these events called Cyclebar U, where we, some of the senior master instructors get together and we do a 3-day workshop and we all teach. And every time we do that and I get to take my master instructors classes, I walk away bawling, because they're so great at what they do, that if I've allowed myself to be open walking into that room, I'm going to experience. So it's going to bring up something. And it just might be that I'm so inspired and so proud of them that it causes me to lose it on the bike. So I think that there's, all the time I walk in open now when I take classes. And I think that a lot of people who have been doing it and coming as students for years, they feel that safety of being in a room where they feel like they can cry. It's kind of like the old TV show Cheers. You had your characters who came and they were all from different walks of life, but they would come, into this area, sit at the bar and talk about their lives, whether the good things, the bad things. They'd never hang out outside of there, but that was their place, and they could be who they were, and they could allow themselves to go through whatever they were going through at the time. So I think that that's the whole Cyclebar analogy, is that you walk in no matter who you are, where you're from, and you can be. And so if the class is the music is right and the instructor is open enough and allowing everything to unfold, you're bound to feel. And, from all the people I've talked to over all my travels through all the different cycle bars, I meet people all the time who say to me, I cry in class all the time. So I hear it. So I know that it's something that happens every day, probably 100 times a day. It's happening around this country. So it's kind of awesome.
It's amazing, and I've been lucky to have conversations with lots of different people on their stances, their experiences, some of the things that have stood out to me is emotions are meant to be felt. Like
Yes.
when you're sad, you cry. When you're mad, you yell. Like these, you can't hold these things back. When people experience loss, you're going to feel empty, and it's going to feel that way probably forever.
Sure.
And it's just about owning that feeling and being able to live with an open heart in which you can share what that looks like with other people, because otherwise they aren't equipped to know how to support you in whatever you
Yes.
feel. It's crazy, just like technology and social media and all these, you got to look this way, do this thing, talk like this, make us not as good as being humans as what we maybe once were.
I agree. I agree. I think social media is um, it's great for a lot of things, but it's also our biggest downfall as human beings. We no longer interact with people. It's all through. It forces. It takes you out of being present and experiencing emotion with a person. You're experiencing it with your phone or your computer. And people paint these pictures of how perfect life is when it's not perfect. Um, and so, yeah, it's great to be able to come in and have those moments and be on a bike and not be in the most perfect place, but be able to go through a class, and sometimes a song will come on and you get to work out your angst, or you get to shed the tears, and all of a sudden you go, "Ah, I mean, I must have needed to cry."
Yeah.
It's sometimes like a really great movie, right? Sometimes you walk into a movie and then you're at the right part, the intended part, I'm bawling, and it might happen 3 months ago, I might not have cried, but when I watched it at this time, I lost it, it hit me. And I think it's the same for that class. When you walk into indoor cycling, there is that flow that I don't get in other workouts. Sometimes maybe yoga can do that, but you're not going to get it. Probably never going to cry except in pain in a Pilates class, right? Or a bar class, but or a CrossFit class. But that the way, again, I say it's active meditation because there's something about being on the beat, and you're clicked into that bike. You become one with the music. The instructor says the right thing at the right time, takes you on this journey, and all your walls come down, tumbling down, and you're open and you're present, and it does invite feeling and emotion, and then you walk out and you just peel the onion layer a little bit. So when we do that, we have better experiences.
So, kind of what brought me to Cycle Bar is my good friend Dr. Farah Sharif. I
Yeah.
basically follow her from studio to studio. I go where she goes. And in one of her recent classes, it was a good one. And she gave us a word to think about. She loosely defined it, but kind of left it up to interpretation. And the word was essence. And I'm curious as to, on the spot, how do you define the word essence?
I would say that it's probably ever changing in a sense of my our evolution and how we evolve as people, and my growth. But it's hopefully one of being open, loving, kind, empathetic. That's what I give off when I walk into a room, when I'm there. The essence of my being is, you know, I always say it's probably what my mom taught me, is to love and be loved. And that's it. So you have to give that out, um, which is hard because you got to let down the walls all the time. And when you're mad, you're not so loving. And when you're frustrated, we're not so loving. So that trying to get in alignment of whatever that is, that core for you. And I think that does change. And I think at your essence, changes as we evolve. I think it's always going to change, but the core will be there of whatever it is. But I think that it gets more broader. We broaden our essence.
And on the thought of it broadening and changing and evolving, with you being a mother to kids and you have a partner, and how have they impacted your essence? What are some things that really stand out?
Oh gosh. Kids are amazing in testing your patience, and also testing forgiveness, um, humility. They're humbling. Um, but they also, you know, for me, they've encouraged me to um, be a better person and parent. So it's this, how do I stay calm in moments where I just want to rip, rip them a new one because they've done something or said something that they shouldn't have said. And how do I approach it from love, yet with boundaries? And there's a fine line, I think. So I'm not going to say I'm a failure, but I've stumbled along the way, obviously, as I think all parents do. There's no book that tells you how to do it right, and how to make it work best. I think there are a million books, but there's no right way. And I think that we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to act ways that I'm acting more like the 5-year-old than the 5-year-old. And so it's just recognizing that I am going to falter, and that I am going to, at moments, be weak as a parent, and that I have the ability to constantly step up. And so it's stepping up and being the bigger person a lot of the times. As far as a partner, finding the right partner is probably one of the hardest things we can ever do, to find the right partner. And for me, I'm fortunate that I married a Canadian, which is probably why it's so good. But she's also a really strong leader. She has her own company. Has her own production company. Very, very strong leader, but challenges me, calls me out on my stuff all the time, which then invites me to change and step up and own up, I think is the best word, is constantly own my thoughts and my actions. And so that to me as a partner is great, to have someone who challenges me and sees me most of the time better than I know myself to be. Because if you have that person in your life, and I think as a parent, you see that of your kids, and we all want the best for our kids, and we see them always better than they see themselves, or they know yet that they can be. So to have that be a spouse who holds you accountable to that is great, because then it keeps us evolving in a relationship, as a person, as a family unit. So that's how my essence of my family keeps changing that.
So people give their critiques or their criticisms in how you could grow, and we're not always open to feedback in that way. Maybe we don't see what they see. What's been a moment where you were like, no, like you're wrong, and it was hard for you to see it like they did, even though you ended up growing in the end from taking their advice?
Gosh, I'll tell you that I would probably say this year for me was a really big growth year. And it had nothing to do with family. It had to do with Cyclebar family. But the president of our company, Ryan Junk, he's hilarious. I kind of call him, he was president of UFC gym prior to coming to Cyclebar. So the experience of what we do, he just didn't, I think he's gone to one indoor cycling class, right? So he doesn't really understand. So we're so opposite. And I get very upset when franchisees don't necessarily follow the brand, right? And I just want to, lay the smack down. And so I would say this year for me, he's challenged me when I didn't feel the need to change the way I do things. And so the growth for me this year being challenged, it was obviously a little humility when your boss sits you down and tells you like, hey, your approach sucks and you got to change that. And so I think that for me, I'll give you a great example. Like I am very straightforward. And so sometimes I'll come across, somebody will do something and I'll shoot them back an email and I'll just be, might come across as being cutthroat. But I'm offended that someone took this brand that I've created and threw it out the door and, did something different. And so he really worked with me to change the way that I sent emails, right? So that I got my point across, but I wasn't throwing shade in my email, but giving them the opportunity to step up to the plate. So I'll give you a great example of change is that, so this year my wife was negotiating a lease for a new car. And the guy that she was doing it all through email. And so she kept saying, can you please CC my team, which was her finance person and me. And he kept leaving everyone off the chain and just trying to deal with her. And I said, can I please, after like the 20th time, I was like, can I please send him an email? And she's like, no, please don't send him an email. I know your emails. And I was like, no, you got to trust me. I've changed. And I sent this email and she literally was like, I can't believe the email you wrote. You got your point across. You threw no shade, but it came from an opportunity for growth for this person to be a better salesperson and respect. It had my back, but you still offered this opportunity for growth without making him feel bad. And so, I think that was for me in my 50s and in this industry for a long time to be able to look and say, wow, I've grown, right? Because of my leader, who's the president of my company, and I report to him directly. So him being able to say to me, you throw away too much shade, you need to grow up and, invite people to change and see your point, open the door for them to see your side. And so sometimes it's not easy to do that. And I went head to head with him for a few months, but it did give me the biggest change that I've had this year.
It's good perspective too for people who think that so you're the leader of leaders, and somebody's going to think that nobody ever says no, do it over, or no, that's wrong, or no, you're doing it wrong. Like, people just assume that a person in that position always gets it right, always has it easy. And
No.
this perspective makes it so easy for everyday people to approach things with the right mindset and not be so closed off to feedback, because everybody's getting it. And
Yes.
sometimes the people who get the most feedback experience the most growth.
Yes, I agree. And I think, I say this to all the instructors that we have, because to bring up like my master instructor team, and every time I'm with them, and they're all over the country, so we don't see each other. We see each other probably every 2 months. Whenever I'm with them and I grow so much. As an instructor, I learn when I'm going to an event, a Cycle Store U, and I'm watching somebody who's only been teaching for 3 months. If I'm open enough, I'm going to look and I'm going to watch them and I'm going to learn. It's maybe something I skipped over, or maybe something that I learned so many years ago that looking at it now from where I am now, I'm going to see it even more differently. and I can use it and use their experience that they're having on the bike. Um, After all these years now, even though I run this department, I'm as high as it gets. I still learn. And so I hope that for us in our community that we built is that the goal is that for these instructors to don't ever close the door as an instructor, because the best instructors are always learning. The minute I stop thinking I don't have anything else to learn and everybody needs to learn from me, I'm done. Right? So I've got to stay open and always evolving and learning and growing. So we're big fans of that at Cyclebar. We try to really push all the cycle stars to do that.
Totally. Like everybody we meet in our life has something to offer. They have something to bring into our life. And with that being said, we meet everybody in our life for a reason.
Yes.
Which is perfect segue to the next question I have for you. Who are three pivotal people that you met just randomly, but your life wouldn't be the same without them?
I would say Janet Fitzgerald, who has my job at Soul Cycle. She was my business partner. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without her, right? I wouldn't be here. I would probably still be following people and a private investigator. But, so by meeting her and her teaching indoor cycling and making me go to a class that I hated at first, and her being such a great instructor that looped me in, and then buying into opening a studio, definitely changed the course of my entire life. I wouldn't have it's just everything fell into place after that moment. So definitely pivotal point in my life meeting Janet. I would say Ruth Zuckerman, who's one of the founders of Soul Cycle as well, and Flywheel. She also still a good friend of mine. Meeting her and after going to work for Flywheel, it just kind of led me here. So very pivotal part of my life and my journey, connecting and having such a strong woman who was able to help my path to get my job that I have now. And next, I'm going to say my wife, because I think that in my last, 5 years of being with her as a partner, I probably had the most amount of growth as a person, because we challenge each other, and that was always part of our commitment to each other, is to challenge each other to be better communicators, better parents, better people, better leaders in our jobs. So I think that meeting her and this dog over here, I think meeting her was really huge part of it, because she really did call me to be a better leader, and a better leader even in my job. So those are my three people.
I like it, and it speaks to a lot of important things. We should be surrounding ourselves in our life with people who make us better.
Yes.
And if they're not making us better, we should ask ourselves, why are they there? Like, what are they doing? Why do they get so much of our time? Because we only get so much time.
Yes.
So last year was the first year that Cyclebar Windermere did the ride for Loma.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're very familiar with the story and her legacy and everything. And the second annual one is coming up, and I'm going to do a special intro on this to try and help promote it and share Loma's legacy. And I know cancer affects a lot of people. I know that I never grew up with grandparents because of cancer. I mean, like, my parents are older, which would have placed my grandparents at an old age, but I might have seen them if not for cancer.
Right.
And so I'm just curious, like, I know it's had an impact on you. Like, you mentioned how your mother passed away. Like,
yes.
What is the extent of cancer's impact on your life?
Huge. I mean, so many people, I've lost so many people to cancer. So besides, my mother passed away, my aunts and uncles, I've lost friends who've passed away. I just actually, you know, thank God. One of my closest friends went through the last year of having, she had colon cancer, young, two kids, my kid's age, and, going through her chemo with her and surgeries, with her. And by the grace of God, she's now cancer free when she had stage 4 um, colon cancer, which is a rarity that she at the moment has been cancer free. So it's a huge impact. And I think that, um, Loma was really hard to lose because we all loved Loma. It was, she was her love for Cyclebar and opening the studio and to get to the point of almost opening it and then getting so sick was just really hard to watch. So I'm so grateful that to see that Wyndham is still doing really well and that her energy isn't gone. Such a blessing and a gift that all of those, I'm going to cry, all of those cycle stars and people in your community chose not to let go of. Because it's so easy to have someone leave or pass away and that energy is replaced or, tries to be replaced, and no one tried to replace that. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing, that her essence and her energy and her purpose and intention is still ever so present. Not physically, but the energetically, emotionally is always going to be at that studio. But I think, luckily, for the Ride for Loma, and one of the things that we do with Cycle Gives Rides is to find things that are so important to our hearts and close to home. And franchisees all over are doing, whether it be breast cancer rides or, colon cancer rides or just cancer in general, leukemia. We do Alzheimer's rides. We do so much stuff that the opportunity, because we know that Cyclebar, studio fitness in general, because of that energy created, has and the community that's created has the potential to raise so much money, right? For charities that are near and dear to our hearts. So why not use what we do to constantly raise money? And it's a great avenue to do it. So cancer's a tough one. And I don't know, if I could go back and, I wish we could all go back and change our environment and change the foods that we eat and all these kind of things that we have, put in our bodies so that it would reverse a lot of it. But I hope we get there someday.
Absolutely. I think something that resonates and lingers with me is the amount that it can change how a person lives their life. Like, we come across these moments that you never get again.
Yeah.
So, like, moments in that spin room where you connect with one person, you match the beat, where you just started crying out of nowhere. You woke up and you were feeling awesome. Then a song came on, and then all of a sudden you're just feeling full of emotion. And these are like moments that we can't take for granted.
Yes.
This is what makes life full and whole and wholesome. And like taking time to like stop and smell the roses. Like that's a big thing that I advocate for is you got people, you got neighbors, you got people in your community. When's the last time you just stopped and like shared some time with them, like went for coffee or went for a walk?
Yeah, or just checked on them. Hey, how are you doing?
Like,
Yeah,
we take that for granted.
we do. We do.
It's
We live in a time where people are more present on social media than they are in their real life as it's happening. So I think that, getting, the goal for all of us is to get back to present, being present, being in the moment, being and appreciating the moment, just appreciating the beautiful things in life. And, I'm a big fan of trying to, whenever I talk to my friends and even, my team of master instructors, I mean, like, just like, I love you so much, have a great day, love you, because you never know, right?
Yeah.
So it's so precious that it can be taken away at any time. And so what are our last words? What are our last things that we say? What are our last things that we do? And I'd rather it be on the phone or in person telling someone that I love them rather than through a text message or an Instagram post, right? So I think it's just, we have to find the art of coming back to being present and appreciating what's happening in front of us, not in someone else's life on its social media, but what's happening right now with our families and our friends and our neighbors and in our community.
And it's how we do the things that we do as well. Like, rather than, a lot of people will set their 5 alarms in the morning and be like, I have to wake up real early. Like, they hate it. They don't speak nicely of it. And then but then I get to the workout and I feel better. But
Yeah,
honestly, you get the opportunity. You're privileged to have the
absolutely.
capability to wake up early, to get in your car that runs, to get to that studio that's full of people who all have their own essence, in which you will become elevated because everybody brings something to the table. Like,
Yes,
that's how we should see things.
I agree, 100%.
I like how Cycle Bar fosters that, and I like how it seems to be growing in Canada. But to what extent? Like, I know there's Edmonton, there's Toronto. What's next?
Calgary is
Nice.
opening. Yes, we are doing Calgary. I know we have a lease signed. Um, so yeah, we're coming. We're getting bigger there. Eventually, I think we'll get bigger in different regions. It's there's a lot of territories. We actually just did a multi deal with all of our brands. We're owned by a company called Exponential. So Exponential owns Cyclebar, Pure Bar, um, Club Pilates, uh, Tread. What else do we own? We own so many different brands. It's crazy. I think there's 8 or 9 of us. AKT Fitness. So we are going into other demographics, like Saudi Arabia. We just did a big deal, so where they're bringing in Yoga Six, Cycle Bar, AKT Fitness, Pure Bar, and Club Pilates, and Cycle Bar, and we're all going into this area, and then they're going to expand through those 6 brands. We're in Dubai. We're opening in London this year. So we're getting out and do more. We're close to doing something in Germany and a couple other countries right now. So hopefully we'll grow a lot in the next couple years.
I like
It's
it.
exciting.
Yeah,
Exciting.
it is. If you reflect on the last 7 days, what is the thing that you are the most proud of?
I'm the most proud that I was able to unplug and be with my family and just um, be present and see their joy jumping in, being at the cottage and, doing these things that they've not done before and, jumping off the dock and then going out and jumping off there, just seeing that pure excitement from my children and unplugging and being able to experience the surroundings and the beauty, and also having the trust that I've built such a stellar team that they can support me being away. And so I think that for the last 7 days, it's just really, it's a reminder how important it is to take care of ourselves so that we can be what we need to be for those people that are relying on us to do what we do. It's really important. So I think that for me was like a big accomplishment to be able to unplug.
Have you ever had a time in your life when you left it too long before you went and you unplugged?
Yeah, I think lots of times. A lot of times I've done that. And I think that, I think as you get older, you, as known as we get older, we lose people, your parents and family members die. And, you get to an age and all of a sudden your friends, you're losing friends, they get sick or cancer, and that I think that that's when you start realizing that I've got to take care of myself, got to nurture myself. Back in about 15 years ago, I had my business, my studio. I was working 7 days a week. I was teaching 8 to 10 classes a week, running a business. Um, Crazy times, running myself ragged, never went on vacation. And I got really sick. I actually was diagnosed with MS. And I didn't go on medication when I was diagnosed with MS. My goal was that I went alternative. I went to a plant-based diet, which I've been now for 15 years. I've been symptom free. I've had no relapses. But along with taking that initiative to go plant-based and take out the processed foods and animal products and really eat a clean diet, I had to clean out energetically as well, which is carving out time for me, taking the stress out, um, trusting your team and the people you surround yourself with and giving them more power and more room to take stuff off your plate so that you have the time to give back to yourself. Being an instructor is probably such an amazing gift to be an instructor because you get to give so much of yourself to people, and the effect that we have on people is just monumental, but we often forget to nurture ourselves. So for me, that was a huge lesson in I've got to really start nurturing me, feed my body, feed my soul, rest when I need to rest, and take care of my mind, take care of everything.
So, what holds you accountable to doing that for yourself? Because we all fall into old habits.
Um, I have been. I think that was just such a scary experience for me that I've never cheated. I've always stayed on this strict diet. People ask me all the time, "Oh, what's one time if you have a piece of birthday cake?" I'll have a vegan cake, but it's just I don't. Why risk it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, I think that it's just knowing, seeing the progress when I started taking care of feeding my body and my soul with the right things. I just don't have any desire to fall back emotionally, physically, spiritually. I think it's just now I know it's my life vest, right? It's my lifeline to do this. And what holds me accountable is my kids and my wife and my family. Like I want to be here for my kids. I want to be, I want to be healthy. And so fortunately I have a career in an environment that promotes health. I, am super fit in my 50s, which a lot of people aren't. So I have that. And uh, I feel I'm grateful for the path that got me to where I am, even the sickness, because God knows where I would be if I didn't. I could have maybe dropped dead of a heart attack 7 years ago if I didn't learn to peel back, take the stress off, meditate, put the right foods in my body. So, you know, yeah, I think that there's what holds me accountable is just there. I know what's out there. I've experienced feeling like death, not being able to feel parts of my body in the beginning when I had, my first rounds of attacks. Um, and, that keeps me accountable.
I like it. So, if we were to look towards the next year, what's one thing that would fill you with the most joy from like, it doesn't have to be business, it can be like your goals, but something that if you accomplished it, you would feel the most fulfilled?
It's a tough one. Because I think of my job as one of my children. So I would say that I just want, I think the goal for me is that if I can get everyone in alignment to, I guess, like, when you see your kids be good people, like that's such the best accomplishment ever, when you see them, say the right things and be kind, when, over kind. They just amazing. Those are the best moments for me. But also, like, just, the Ride for Loma things, those things within these cycle bars, and seeing these great things that we do for communities. I just want it to keep happening, right? As long as for me, I want it to be bigger. I want our impact as a company to be bigger. And I think that there's so much more we can do, now that we're getting a lot of these processes and procedures down with opening all these studios and getting some of the struggling studios back to being successful, which has been a big task that we've done in the last 18 months. But then going back to, how do we be more impactful as a company? Because when you have 200 or so studios open all around the world, and your goal is to get to that 500, think about how much of an impact we can have. So really bringing that to Cyclebar on a level of, how much more charity can we do? How can we affect communities, whether it be, those rides for Loma, or somebody whose family's lost their home, the things that we've done. It's just to keep on that and make it bigger.
I like that. That's a good one.
Any change for the better of society at this point, I think, is just, whether it be through our children or through our cycle bars, is my goal.
So there's a question that I ask all of my guests, and it goes like this. If you were to give one piece of advice on how to authentically live your life to the fullest, what would it be?
Don't be afraid. Like, you have to let go of fear of love, fear of loving, being loved, being left, being failure, fear of failure, all that fear. Because when we let that go, we can experience. It's what holds us back. It holds us back from being happy. It holds us back from being loving. It holds us back from being kind, because we don't want to put ourselves out there. So it's just really just finding the roadblocks that keep you strapped into fear.
It's been a pleasure having you join me. I want to
Well,
thank
you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. And we'll probably chat another time.
I hope so. I hope to come to Edmonton and, get on a bike.
I look forward to it.
Alrighty. See ya. Thank you.
I just have one thing to ask of you. Find somebody that's in your life right now and tell them that you love them. Thanks for listening.